Welcome to Two Peas on a Pod, the podcast where we explore connection, friendship, and the relationships that shape who we are and who we're becoming. I'm Dr. Miriam Kermeyer, a clinical psychologist, friendship expert, and global speaker on human connection and social support. Today's guests are two women that I admire for so many reasons, not only for what they've built individually, but for the friendship that they've co-created and for the way that they're challenging outdated narratives. Today, I'm sitting down with Emmy-nominated actress Constance Zimmer and writer and creator Heidi Clements, who is equal parts story, style, and substance. We're talking about what happens when friendship evolves alongside of you. And that includes the friendships that end and the people that you haven't met yet, and the possibility that your most meaningful friendships are actually still ahead of you. We're also getting into how style and authenticity and knowing who you really are can change the way that you find and keep your people. As always, make sure that you stick around to the very end of the episode because I will check back in with you with a few friendly reminders and your next connection step so that you can bring today's conversation into your own friendships. And with that, let's get into it. It is time to meet our friends, and today we're joined by two women who truly embody friendship, longevity, and reinvention. You know Constance Zimmer from iconic roles in Entourage and Ryan Murphy's Love Story, a career defined by sharp and unforgettable characters. And sitting beside her on my screen is Heidi Clements, a television producer, writer, social media force, and a pro-aging influencer. Together, they're best friends and the hosts of Talk 50 to Me, a podcast where they explore what it really means to step into their 50s with honesty, with humor, and perspective. And today, these two Ps are on our pod talking about the center of it all, friendship. Constance, Heidi, we just met both of you. To kick things off, I'd love to know how the two of you met. Tell us a little bit about your friendship origin story.
I had written a pitch for a show called The Magic Dark, and I got an email from Sony saying Constance Zimmer would like to meet you and talk about playing the lead in this show. And as soon as I shit my pants, I got on a call with Constance because I was such a massive fan of Unreal and Entourage and House of Cards and everything she'd ever done. It was one of those she can't be real person kind of thing. We had a Zoom meeting and I instantly knew that I wanted to be friends with her for the rest of my life. And I said to her, we're not going to make this show, but I've written 5 other things for you, so don't worry about it. And then I forced her to come over to my house like 2 days later, and I gave her all my clothes and made her make dumb videos, and here we are.
But also, let's preface this by saying it was 2020. So we had to meet over Zoom, right? Nobody was meeting in person. And yet I went and did something illegal. And I met her outside in her backyard. You know, we sat on couches across the yard. I had the same feeling. I mean, even just like meeting her over Zoom for the first time, I was like, wait, why are we so similar? This is so weird. And so then when I met her in person, I mean, it was just like, it was kind of that like finding that sister that you've been separated at birth from. Like we were already finishing each other's sentences and we
Trying
were
on each
already
other's
like
clothes.
planning our future together. Yeah, exactly. She's like, take all these clothes. And I was like, what? What's happening? You don't even know my style.
And also Constance was turning 50 and I was turning 60. And in the very beginning of our friend, and we were upset that we weren't going to get our big birthday parties because it was the pandemic. And I remember she said to me that she was so excited about turning 50. And I was like, yeah, just wait, bitch. And I was right.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny. I hear you talking about the circumstances that led to you meeting. There was a show, then there was the throwing of the clothes. It sounds like there didn't need to be all of these external things that were helping you to feel close because at the core was this just shared spirit almost. And it's funny, we talk a little bit about this idea of, well, love at first sight for sure, But it turns out that there's also friendship at first sight that some of us can experience, and it's called friendship chemistry. And it really sounds like, as you're describing this, that process of quickly feeling like I know you, I see something in you that I connect to, both in terms of I appreciate that about you, but I also see that in myself and that spirit of similarity. I'm hearing all of that. What were some of those early things that showed up for you where you just felt like, oh, I love that about you, or I see that we're similar in this way?
I think our Libra qualities are probably pretty similar. Like, we'll say anything. Pretty much, Constance is much more polite than I am with new people, which I'm trying to change. Um,
You
and
can keep it real here. I can tolerate it all, I promise.
sadly, I always do. But I do feel like I have an inner ability to sense people that are going to accept who I am, because I'm not your average 60, at the time 60-year-old. I've got like two sleeves full of tattoos, and I say fuck a lot. And so I know that I'm a strong personality. So when I get like back from someone instantly that they get me, it's just we're off to the races, and we just got each other instantly. Because I think I always say that I am the woman that Constance plays on TV, but that woman lives inside Constance. She's just 10 years behind me in filters.
And I think that is a lot for me is all of the things that Heidi just said about herself that she thinks sometimes causes people to maybe have a step back. It made me step forward. I was like, "Oh my God, who is this woman?" Like at 60 years old, and she's so fucking cool, and she's like doesn't give a shit about anybody, and she's like, "Go fuck yourself over here, and I'm going to hug you and give you everything I've ever owned in my life over here." And I was like, how do I be more like you?
Hmm.
And I think it was like this weird thing that we realized. I was like, oh my God, right. So, like, I'm the TV version of Heidi. So, to be around her all the time and to just feel that instant connection, like what you're talking about, this friendship chemistry, like, yeah, it was so real. And we got down to like deep conversations like right away. And I do think we talk a lot about like finding these deeper friendships later in life because you don't have the time to like waste, basically. You're either in it, like in it to win it and in it for the long haul, or like, I gotta go. I got other things to do. And she really has been helping me find the inner strengths and the like, trying to like not filter everything I say, even though I still do it. I just am constantly trying.
It's funny. We definitely talk a lot about not only that love at first sight experience, but love stories. And we champion them and celebrate them and aspire to have our own romantic love story. And I'm curious a little bit about your friendship love story, in essence. Over the last 6 years or so, have there been certain moments that you have shared together, certain conversations, and you can go into as much or as little detail as you want, that have really kind of punctuated that time together and really helped to solidify your connection?
I mean, Constance is really like the first, almost my age bestie that I've had in life. Is that possible? I did not have a lot of female friends when I was younger. I grew up as a boomer in that time when only one woman could win at once. And so all of your female friends were competition. And so Constance, while I might be older than her, Constance is, I think that one of the best things that she did for me was to get me on HRT, was to get me on hormones, because I didn't even know anything about menopause. And she became such an advocate for women in menopause. That's why we started our podcast, and why she's writing a play and making a documentary and so many other things. And the fact that she started me on that and then has introduced me to other like minded women in that space has opened up my circle of older female friends. While, yes, we've had many conversations about important, deep subjects, it's just in general, it's opened me up to a different side of life that I didn't really know when I was younger.
Yeah. I love that idea of openness being central to your experience. And it's funny, it actually turns out that it's one of the contributing factors to that experience of friendship chemistry is being open in terms of self-disclosing and sharing little parts of ourselves, but also being open to being influenced by somebody that we really respect and admire and connect to in some capacity. And I hear both of that on each side.
She's
Yeah.
also opened me up to allowing other people to tell me what to do, which I do not like, but it only really
Oh.
takes place in the car when we have to go somewhere, because if she's not in charge of directions, you're fucked. Like,
Okay. So does she trap you in the car when she needs something from you? She just
she
locks you
should.
in there and says, this is what we're doing. Yeah. This is the strategy, everyone. This is the
She
takeaway. If
has
you
not
want something
learned
from
that,
someone, yeah.
but she should.
When did the idea of mixing business with friendship come up for you? I mean, I asked that, although it sounds like that there was that spark early on. That's actually what brought you together. But when did the idea of working together in this capacity for your podcast come up? I want to talk about Talk 50 to me.
Having met Heidi through already a work situation, and the realization started just there, like right off the bat, because Heidi was like, I have written so many shows for women over 50. And, it's so crazy that we're meeting at this time and you just turned 50. And I was like, yes, let's do it. Let's do all of it together. I don't want to do anything without being 50 without you. Like, you have such a bird's eye view of, obviously my 50 is so different than her 50s just because of also the time, right? Now it's just a little bit more acceptable. I mean, whatever that word. But to be
There's
honest,
an asterisk there that we
yeah,
can come back to.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. A version of acceptable. But what it was that really sparked it was that I went to Montecito after Heidi moved, and we were going through the farmers market, like the local farmers market in Santa Barbara. And this girl, she was probably like 25, maybe. And she saw Heidi across a stall and she just started crying. It was like what happened to me when I went and saw Michael Jackson in concert. Like, this woman started weeping, like tears of joy at seeing Heidi. And she just said, "Oh my God, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. You're in front of me." And I have so much to tell you, but let me just start by saying thank you. And by saying, and it gets me all choked up. And she was like, "Thank you so much because you make me feel seen. You make me not feel alone." And she was like, "Can I hug you?" And they like hugged and, kept talking, talking, talking. And then I walked away just from that one experience. And I was like, Heidi, we have to do something about this. Like, yes, you are reaching an audience over social media and it's huge, but we need to give you a space where we can do this for more women. Like, how do we do that? And so I was like, we should have a podcast. Like, we should just give women a space where they can come and talk about being 50 and being 60. And her and I have this cool thing that we are exactly 10 years apart. Heidi has the same birthday as my mother, which is not a coincidence, I feel like. And so that's where it stemmed. I wanted people to get more of Heidi. And so that's really how that crossed over. I mean, Heidi is involved in all of my projects. She's involved in the play, she's involved in the documentary. I need her a part of everything because everything she is doing and pushing out is incredibly insightful. Whether you're 18, whether you're 68, whether you're male, female, I mean, you name it, you can be anything. And it is like you relate to her on such a level that is, it just Yeah, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. And so, like,
Yeah.
that's really where it came from, was I wanted to give Heidi a place where she could show her magic.
You're a nice
Yeah.
lady. And I haven't shut up since.
Yeah. And now we all get to benefit from that.
She's a she's a
Yeah.
nice lady, that Constance Zimmer.
Well, I mean, it's such a testament to you, Heidi, in terms of your voice and how you're using it and how you are talking about things in a way that is deeply relatable and meaningful and inspiring. And likewise, the same holds true for you, Constance. And I think there's also a lot of overlap in terms of kind of the genesis for your podcast and for ours here too, which is that there aren't all that many great spaces to go to talk about midlife experiences and challenges and opportunities. And the same thing is certainly true for friendship. I always say when we have a problem in our lives, we turn to our friends. Where do we go when we have a problem in and about a friendship? It can be really difficult to find those spaces. And so I love that there was that moment of connection and of recognition of we need to do something here. We need to be able to create a space where people can connect through this shared experience and have a place to have those conversations. I want to talk about friendships in midlife, the intersection and Venn diagram of all of these different topics that we talk about. There is this idea that friendships in midlife can actually be stronger and more intentional and more honest and more authentic, all of which can be buzzwords, but they can also be very real lived experiences. And I'm wondering if you found that to be true in your own lives, certainly with this particular friendship. And if so, what feels different about the ways that you are showing up for each other in this decade or at this period in your life compared to the past?
I'm somebody who's not married and I don't have kids. And so my friendships to me are my relationships. And I believe that a friendship love is just as important as a romantic love. And I also know that your friends can love bomb you the same way that your significant other can. And I do pay very close attention to friendships because of that. And they're very important to me. And I think that with Constance and I, there's so much stuff that happens when you're in midlife that you need someone of like mind to share those experiences with. And the most important friends that you can have in those times are the ones that will not judge you and will not make you feel ashamed of the things that you are saying. So, yeah, while I'm confident and I'll say anything, I don't fully open up to just anybody. I have pretty strong boundaries as far as what I tell people, but I will tell Constance anything because I know she has zero judgment, that my secrets are safe with her, and that she also has great advice. And this is something that I didn't learn until later in life, that I could have a female in my life that would do that for me, because it was always such competition before or transactional before. And I feel like that's the biggest change about midlife, is that I sort of relaxed and allowed some older ladies in.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like part of that was an internal process, of course, of shifting expectations or openness. But I'm also wondering, from your perspective, Heidi, what was it that Constance did early on, and I would imagine continues to do, that made you feel like, okay, I can open up in a slightly more real, vulnerable way? Because sometimes being unfiltered and raw doesn't necessarily feel all that vulnerable. Sometimes
Yeah.
that's actually a bit of a comfort zone. So, what was it that she was doing that made you feel that way?
Like I said, I can tell when people accept who I am. I can just tell from being in their presence, or their facial expressions or how they react to something. And I could just tell that she was okay with who I was. Literally, that was it. She was just cool with exactly who I was. And I could feel that from the second that I met her, that she was a fan of me, and that what I thought and felt and said and did mattered to her. And it was just that simple.
It's just that simple. You make it sound so simple. Yeah, because I
Sometimes it does click. Yeah. Constance, same question for you. Curious to hear, what does this particular friendship like for you compared to past decades of your life? And what is friendship like in general in terms of the unique role that it plays for you?
Being like midway through my 50s, I've been learning a lot of things about myself, about the people I surround myself with, and how I feel afterwards, right? And very aware of not feeling good sometimes after a lunch or a breakfast, and really pondering, that's new. I wonder what happened there, right? There's a little bit of a clarity that happens in midlife that I was not ready for. And it's really interesting. It's like it is putting on a different set of glasses. And so when I started being able to see people a little bit more clearer, I found that I was that clear with Heidi, like the second I met her, where there's a lot of friends I've had in my life for years and years and years. I wasn't as clear about them until I got here. And so that to me, I've also found that these quick, like love at first sight type stories are happening all over the place. But like what Heidi said, mostly with women who are in this same time in their lives, because there's so many nuanced emotions and conversations that you can't explain until you have lived it. Right? And so it doesn't mean that those other friends, I don't like them anymore and I'm not as close to them as I was, but I can't explain a lot of what I'm going through unless you are going through it as well. Right. And so that has made these new relationships like very fast and very
Hmm.
furious and very connected, and it's kind of cool because I feel like we've all thought that, like, oh, we're going to have our friends from high school for the rest of our lives. And it's about the longevity of the friendship. That is what the closeness is, oh, they've known me for
Yes.
25 years. They saw me when I was 18 and 35, and they were at both of my weddings. And that must mean that they know me. And it's weird to get to midlife and go, they actually don't know me because I don't know me. I'm just relearning me. So when you're relearning you and you're meeting people in this relearning process, you're like, oh, I'll keep you and I'll
Yeah.
take you and I'll put you over here for right now. And, so it has been very interesting, the relationships that happen later in life and how you can connect so quickly.
Yeah. There's so much in there to unpack. This idea that the quality, the closeness of a friendship is necessarily tied to the longevity of it. That is absolutely a theme that I hear time and time again. And that backfires in so many ways. There are people who hold on to friendships for far too long because they think that that's what they have to do, should do, that that's the sign of a healthy friendship. And then there are certainly people who judge themselves for not having those lifelong connections and question, well, what does that mean about me? What does that say about me as a person, as a friend, if I don't have those connections and close friendships from when I was younger, from high school, from elementary school, even from college? And I love that your friendship story and all of the conversation that you're bringing to the era of midlife really centers this idea that the connections that you build as adults and in midlife can be just as special, if not more meaningful, than the friendships that we made when we were younger. And that a new friendship, one that has only just begun or just begun at this period in your life, that too can be just as close, if not closer, than somebody that you've known for decades and decades. So I think that this is such a powerful example of that. And I also really love how there's a lot of talk about the value of connection and the value of friendship in midlife. And I don't know if you found this, but very often the discourse can kind of be, society has painted friendship in midlife as a relationship that exists to fill a void. Oh, I'm suddenly an empty nester with increasing rates of gray divorce. Now I need my friends. Thank goodness that I have these close connections. And again, I love that the nuance you're bringing to this conversation is friendship is unique in and of itself. It's not special because it is a replacement for anything else. It is just as important or more important for all sorts of reasons. And we kind of get to define the role that friendship plays in our lives. So I just love that you're, putting that out there for all of us to see.
I think it's cool to get new friends at an age when you finally know who you are. Imagine
Yeah.
how well you're picking them when you know who you are, what you need, what you love, and what your boundaries are. It's like saying, I met a guy at 18. Am I going to love him at 28, 38, 48, 58? No, I'm a totally different person than I was back then. Why do we expect our friendships to live as long? And I think people need to be better about breaking friendships when they're
Yeah.
done because nobody is being served by a bad friendship. And I walk away when they get bad. Uh, and they're hard friendship breakups, but
Yeah.
they're better. It's better to break it than to go on living with someone that no longer serves who you are.
Yeah. And I'm hearing also those two sides to it in terms of the intentionality that comes with those midlife friendships. You have a better sense of who you are, and so absolutely, one would hope you're in a better position to pick and choose who aligns with who I am right now and who I'm becoming, always becoming, right, and who I want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing this other piece that I love of how am I also choosing friends who can continue to evolve with me and support that growth and don't make me feel like I have to stay this particular version of myself for an indeterminate amount of time. I, I'm wondering, so by this stage, you have lived a lot of life and there's career highs, there's challenges, there's personal shifts, all the things that we're talking about. How do those experiences deepen a friendship in a way that maybe wasn't possible earlier on? We started to talk a little bit about that initial spark and that initial connection of opening up more quickly or maybe just in a more real way and having that shared understanding. Is there something else about what's allowing for the depth over time?
I mean, I think it's just living. Heidi moved to Montecito, like what, 2 years after we met? Was that 2 years? Yeah.
It was
And
3
I
years.
was like, oh no, oh
Well, I was gonna
no.
move away to the East Coast, and
Yeah,
that didn't go over well.
right. And I was
Didn't go
like,
over well with Constance?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alana, if you're listening, this is my friend who's contemplating a move. Don't you dare.
yeah. No, but what's interesting is, I see Heidi probably more than I see my friends who live 15 minutes away. And that is a true testament to friendship later in life, is that you figure it out, you know. We talked to somebody on our podcast the other day and she was like, I had 2 hours and I had to go see a friend in Tarzana, and even though I didn't have the time, I made it work. And because there are friendships that are so important that you show up no matter what. If you have 5 minutes, if you have 5 hours, and I'm going to possibly move as well this year. And I was saying to Heidi yesterday, I was like, yeah, but I'm going to probably see you more than I will see other people. Like, it is, I think that for us is the depth of what we're walking into, is like she moved first, but she was still driving distance away. And we had our podcast. So like then I would see her all the time, which was great. But even during that, she still is like, well, I'm going to drive up, and I was like, stay in my house. And, we get such quality time. It's not quantity. It's the quality of the depths that we go to in the time that we have.
What does that quality time look like for you when you're together?
Well, if it's at my house in Montecito, it's a lot of self-care, face masks, roaming through gardens and flea markets and shopping and eating and things like that. If it's at Constance's house, it involves us having amazing meals cooked by her husband while we get to sit around and run our jaws, as they say, and and just have the best time. It's more of a family affair at Constance's house with her daughter and her husband, and more of a girls' weekend when she comes up to my house. So we get very different things fulfilled. And I do think that one of the, like I could I could call up 20 things that have brought us closer in our friendship as far as events that happen, but I really think the thing that brings us the closest in our friendship is the fact that we both operate with each other on no strings attached. There is no expectation on our friendship. Like, if I didn't call you in 4 days, Constance isn't going to get mad at me and think like, "Oh god, we're not friends anymore." Like, we both fully understand who we are, what we're doing, and how we come together and separate is just easy because there's no expectations of what this friendship is or isn't. And I think I feel completely unjudged in her presence. And that is something that's pretty rare for me because I'm different and people do judge me.
Yeah. I think this is beautiful in terms of like it's unfiltered and untethered in terms of those expectations. And yet that's the thing that makes you feel so very
Tethered.
close. Yeah, exactly. That you can be real, you can be yourselves, and you can feel chosen for that. And when you do show up for each other, when you make the time, when you prioritize seeing each other in person or spending that quality time together, in whatever form that takes, it really does feel like you are choosing each other and choosing to show up
It's
for your friendship.
easy. It's just
Yeah.
it's an easy friendship.
Have you had to have any conversations about that no strings attached philosophy, or has that just been the way it was from the beginning? You both had this similar perspective on, yeah, on, as you said, coming together and having those moments of separation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Heidi is very good at expressing herself. So it's like whether you have the conversation or not, you already know what she needs and what she wants sometimes with like one word.
Yeah.
So no, it was never a conversation. It's just like again, I just think that like we we just like we got each other
Yeah.
from like the first moment we met. I was like, I see you, you see me, let's go. Like, I don't know. It's I haven't had it with trying to think of, I've probably had it with like maybe two other friends in my life where it's been that immediate, like, oh, you're my forever friend. Got you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Constance and I only had one moment where I said to her, like, "I don't like that. I don't like that kind of talk." I think, she was making a joke about me being, harsh to somebody, and it just triggered me in a horrific way, and I just said, "I don't like being described that way." And it was because I have been described that way by other people, and we've talked about this recently, that my delivery can be harsher than some because I'm always being honest. And I know that you're supposed to like dumb down your delivery and protect other people's feelings, but I like to protect my own feelings. So being in my presence sometimes can be kind of harsh. And Constance is okay with that. She understands that I'm not coming from a place of meanness. I just say what's in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't swallow it like most of us.
Yeah.
We
It's
bring it
it's
in.
there. It's coming out at some point. So yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not always
Yeah.
great, and
Yeah.
she's accepting of that and accepting of me saying, like, "I don't like that, don't do that." She hasn't done that to me yet. I think she wants to sometimes, like, when I call her Connie, which she fucking hates, but other
No,
people have
shaking
to
her head
tell me
already.
that
No, no,
she
no.
hates it. Yeah,
That's a big no. That's
is
her
it?
version of a fuck you.
Have I
The
stopped
sh-
doing it?
yeah. But it's, it makes me think there's that one experience where you said, I don't like that, even though that didn't happen prior to that and hasn't really happened since. But I can imagine that when you have a moment like that, again, it just further reinforces the trust that you have in each other of if there is a problem, we will therefore talk about it. And when you have this long arc to your friendship, and when you have this shared feeling of we are going to be in each other's lives forever, this is a forever friendship, then it doesn't necessarily make those moments of, oh, we don't have endless time together right now. It doesn't make that feel as desperate. There's that longing of we love being together. We want to spend more time together, but you know that there's so much more ahead for you. So I think that that idea of that trust in the closeness and trust in your friendship, not just each other, I would imagine that that definitely is at the core of
Yeah,
this.
because I had no problem delivering that line to her at a table with 8 other people, and her reaction was, "Got it."
Mm,
And I knew that I could say this to her and it would you can't tell a lot of your friends the truth about how you feel because their reaction to your truth is sometimes really shitty, and puts it on them, like, "Well, I think you're overreacting."
right.
So and that was not her reaction, and it's I don't say things like that to a lot of people because I know they won't react well, and somehow I knew Constance would hear me and correct her course, even if there was nothing wrong with her course, it was my own trigger, and that's really special. That really matters to me that you can have, like, I don't wanna have friends as close as Constance in my life where I can't say how I feel. I don't wanna be in your presence. I don't wanna be around you. I won't make plans with you. If I can't be fully me, then I don't wanna spend more than 5 minutes with you. I'm too old, I'm too tired, and I'm too fucking cool.
I that I need that on a t-shirt. Okay. First of all, that there has to be that on merch for someone somewhere because I need to wear that daily. Please. I absolutely love that. That's excellent. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. We're talking about like the value, the specialness of this relationship, the value of friendship overall, the particular value of friendship at this point in life. And I can't help but think a little bit about some of the research that's been done in this area and even the whole idea of kind of the perspective importance of friendship, because it's one thing to talk about the unique value of friendship at this point in life. And while it's absolutely never too late to make new friends, to deepen your connections. And that's part of exactly the conversation that we're having. It's also really interesting that we know the friendships that we have when we are younger, and to a large extent, just the social experiences that we have when we are younger are predictive of later friendships and relational closeness and success. And so I'm thinking in particular of one of the longest running studies on happiness, the Harvard study of adult development. And so through that work, we now know that social connection is the most powerful predictor of well being and of longevity. And so there's some research through that that shows us that the quality of our relationships in midlife predict how long we live later
Oh,
on and
wow.
how healthy we are. And so, let that be a little bit of a source of motivation to lean into your friendships right now. And there's actually some really interesting evidence that friendship becomes even more important than our family relationships when it comes to that link between feeling connected and well-being and health and vitality as we age. And then there was also a study that was done not too long ago. It was 2015 from Carmichael and colleagues. It was published in Psychology and Aging. And it was this 30-year prospective study. And so what that taught us is the predictive power of friendship starts even younger than midlife. There was some evidence that the friendships in your 20s and 30s are predictive of your friendships in midlife. And so taking that kind of prospective approach of thinking about how the past and the quality of our connections in the past can inform the friendships that we have now. I'm wondering, our older selves or wiser selves get a lot of credit, but what is something that you did in your friendships when you were younger? Or what is an experience that you had when you were younger that helped you to have this beautiful friendship in your life now? Whether that was a past positive connection or experience, or whether that was some of the realizations that we've been talking about in terms of not wanting those friendships or social circles that felt ripe with competition.
Yeah, I mean, I really did not have a lot of close girlfriends in my 20s and 30s. I had 1 or 2. I had a best friend for a long time, and we were extremely close, and it was a magical friendship. Unfortunately, when I quit drinking, she sort of became somebody who didn't like the fact that I was sober because she obviously had a problem with drinking still, and so our friendship fell apart from that, and I felt very betrayed by what happened with our friendship, and I cut it off. I am the one that always cuts off the friendships, and I have a lot of self-preservation about that, but it was really my friendships were always more important to me, and so I think that friendship may have stopped me from pursuing a lot of other, because I was 40 when that ended. And so I think I sort of, because I was newly sober, I kind of really put friendships with people on the back burner because I was a new person now. I was a sober person now. And, I equate it to dancing on the head of a pin. You're kind of
Mhm.
all over the place when you do this. And so I really didn't pursue those kinds of friendships. I tried to just sort of clean up the ones that I had. And so I knew how to have great female friendships in my 20s and 30s, but the way that they ended kind of made me not do it again until now. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think again, it's that the trajectory can look different for all of us, right? It can be that we've had a friendship in the past that informs our friendship in the future because we want more of that, or that we realize what's important to us now or what we're not going to stand for anymore.
I mean, I'm pretty self-sufficient kind of a human. Like, I'm great on my own. I am happy on my own. And if people come into my orbit, it's because they're really special and they deserve a place to stay. Otherwise, I don't need anyone. I'm that kind of a person. So I don't go around seeking out friendships. Like, if they come into my life and turn out to be beautiful things, that's great. It's not something that I worry about or at all ever. Like, I know a lot of people have a really hard time saying I can't find any friends my age and I don't have any friends, and I always say, like, date yourself, become your own friend, and then those people will come into your life when you've really got yourself settled. When you're a best friend to you, you will pull in other friends that match that energy.
Mhm. Let's talk about that a little bit, actually. We spoke about the unique benefits of having these close friends or making close friends in midlife. I want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges. And it's interesting. One of the themes that I hear, and I'd be curious to hear if this is a conversation that comes up for you, is the feelings and the fears that Miriam, it is so challenging to make new friends. And Heidi, I hear what you're saying in terms of this shift from I don't need this, but I'm open to it. And if it's the right person, that's great. And sometimes adopting that perspective can be really helpful if it's not coming from a place of I have to have this. It's coming from a place of do I want to have this? Am I choosing to let this person in? And that choice making that so close. But I do know that there are people for whom it doesn't feel that easy, or it doesn't necessarily even feel like a choice. It feels like this deep-seated need of I need connection. I'm longing for that. I'm hungry for genuine friendships, and this is really challenging. And for sure, there are aspects to aging and midlife that bring unique challenges to the experience of making new friends. And yet, it's funny. I hear this no matter the age of the person that I'm speaking with or the life stage that they're in, it's this feeling of, oh, it's especially hard to make new friends at. It's especially hard to make new friends in midlife. It's especially hard to make new friends as a recent college grad or as a new college student or as a high school student. And part of this is just the reality that it can be difficult to make new friends. It can be difficult to know where to find these people, how to connect, what we're going to connect over. So, what are some of the unique challenges in your experience or perspective of midlife friendships, whether you've had to face this together in your friendship or even in conversations that you're having with other women?
See, I think that's interesting because I have found in midlife, and maybe it's because I'm creating the community of women who are like minded and in the same space. I have found it easier to make friends in midlife. We do a lot of these events where we bring women together in spaces where everybody can feel supported and safe. And it's like I'm making friends left and right. And these are like friends that don't even live in the same city. But like if they know I'm not doing well, like they're checking in on me and I met them 2 weeks ago. It's like there is something. that I have found about midlife that women are more supportive of other women at this time. And that can come in the form of friendship, that can come in the form of just support. Like, I'm here if you need me, let me know what that is. Right. And so then you can dictate, I need this from this person. I need this from this person. Where, when I was younger, I wanted everything from everyone.
Hmm.
Right. And I think that now I'm very specific about is what I need and what I take from the different friendships that I've made, whether they're 2 weeks old, 6 years old, 25 years old. And I think the difference of friendships in midlife is the sadness when you realize, I don't know what I'm getting from that person anymore. That is what I think is sad. Like what Heidi was talking about, when
Hmm.
like friendship breakups
Yeah.
are really difficult because it's almost like you can't explain it.
Hmm.
It's almost like, call me in 5 years when you're here because you'll understand what this is. Right? Like you
Yeah.
can't, like what I was saying earlier too, like you just can't really explain it. And so um yeah, so I've actually found it easier in midlife to make friends and to figure out what those friendships mean to you and what you get from them.
We know who we are. You know who you are, and you know who will serve you best, and you
Yeah.
prioritize that, and that's the beauty of making friendships when you're older.
Is it fair to say then some of the advice that you would impart on women who are struggling with this or questioning what role their friendships play at this point in their lives? That it sounds like the two pieces of advice are: one, get to know yourself in terms of where you are at, what you are prioritizing, how you feel when you are around certain people, and make sure that your friendships are rooted in that intentional decision and choice. And the other piece that I'm hearing is to question this idea entirely that friendships necessarily have to be super challenging uh, in midlife. That people are very open to having real conversations, to letting others in, to finding ways to team up and support each other. And if we can walk into a space, whether that's a virtual space or a physical room or a club or a community, with that mindset of these are people who are here because they value connection and because they know what they value and prioritize, and that has led them to this space. I would imagine that that's a really helpful and empowering mindset to hold on to and can actually then encourage conversation and connection.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I just think people need to remember that friendships are relationships, and you should
Yeah.
approach them the same way you would approach somebody you were gonna date. Do I wanna have dinner with them? Do I wanna sleep over their house? Do I wanna see them every day? Do I wanna call them all the time? What am I getting from this? Do they like me? Do they support? It's the same exact thing. You're just not fucking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, by the way, is most relationships anyway, so
Right. So in fact, quite similar. Yeah. That could be the second T-shirt in this collection.
Right.
we're not fucking. Constance and I yeah.
To be clear, I love that, and I think that this is exactly the conversation that we need to have about the unique value of friendship, but also that this is what relational success can look like. This is what social success can look like. This is something that we can work toward and strive for. That uh, having that relational success, that doesn't have to look like I have a partner, I have a spouse. It can look like I have a close community. I have a best friend. I have close friendships that are deep and meaningful and valuable. And that's the thing that feeds me, that nourishes me. And that's the thing that I prioritize. And I just love that this is a celebration of that. Friendships certainly are this push pull innately. And meeting in the middle or compromising, that is sometimes necessary. So I want to talk about 50-50 in the context of friendships. What is something that you have had to compromise on or that you've learned to compromise on in your friendship with each other? or in general? And what's something that you are absolutely not willing to compromise on or meet 50-50 at?
We
Well,
definitely go ahead.
no, go ahead. You go ahead.
We compromise
Look
on
at you compromising right
the
now of who's going to go
fact
first.
I think I compromise on the fact that there has to be a producer and a traveler on trips. One person gets to produce what you're doing, and one person has to just sit back and suck it up and do it. It's always pleasant. But when Constance and I travel, she produces because there can't be both of us. And that's fine.
I was gonna say, like, Heidi brought up the moment when she was like, I don't like that. I'm not comfortable with that. When you say that to me, like that to me is it's not a compromise, right? But it is the second one person oversteps that. It's the awareness that like we don't go there because there is no, I don't even think what do we
We're the
compromise? You and
same
I don't,
person. There's no
yeah, we don't, I was
compromising.
like, we don't compromise anything. Like when I think about it,
Yeah,
I'm constantly trying to get her to eat, but that's, I don't know if that's a compromise. I'm like, eat this, try it. I swear to God, just eat it. You're going to really,
I guess my compromise is she might be the only person that I let tell me what to do, which is rare
Mm,
because no, generally no. But yeah, I might actually listen to her.
yeah.
Mm.
And that's a
Mm.
compromise for me because I'm always right.
I love that. So, Constance, you have been, I would imagine, privy to some incredible costume departments. And Heidi, you absolutely have the most incredible style. And I am curious about the link and the connection between friendship and self expression. So, thinking about your friendship or friendship in general, is there a link there for you? Whether that's, a literal link in terms of our friends are hyping us up and encouraging us to be confident in ourselves and in our style, or some of the more subtle ways that surrounding ourselves intentionally with others influences our self expression.
Yeah. I mean, I think Heidi and I twin a lot.
Yeah,
We
we
twin a
love.
lot. So somebody the other day said, do you think that you're starting to dress like Heidi now? And I said, probably. I
God,
mean,
I
I'm
hope
with
so.
her all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course I'm influenced by her. And she makes me try and go out of my box that I have put myself in. Our love of jewelry has really been something that she has heavily influenced me on. And I get excited when she's like, wait, what's that ring you have?
Yeah.
I want that ring, and then I'm like, oh my God, like she likes something I have. I feel like I always like everything she has. And the thing with Heidi that I have to say, like, again, if I'm like, oh my God, that necklace is amazing, that necklace will show up at my house like 2 days later. Like there is nothing about like, you can't have what I have. She will buy two of everything and she will give me one and she will say, oh, these are our best friend necklaces. These are our best friend rings. These are our best friend t shirts. These are our best friend hats. It's just like, she wants that. She's not keeping it for herself and being like, sorry, this is only I get to wear this. And so it is very funny because when we show up places together, it's like, are you guys sisters? Like, what's happening? You have this whole thing going on. So she's definitely opened that up in me for sure to like, why are we wearing one thing? Why are we waiting to wear that incredible thing when we could be wearing it to the grocery store or to walk our dog? And so that has definitely inspired me and made me live out loud a little bit more through fashion, I believe.
I think the funniest part of our friendship actually is that I think I got my love for jewelry from Constance.
Hmm.
And she thinks the opposite, and it's really funny because I every time we haven't seen each other for a few days or a week or whatever, the conversation is always the same when we meet up. "What is that? Where's that from? Can I get that? How do I get that? Can you get me that? What is that ring? Where did that come from? What is that shirt? I love that shirt. Can I have that cap?" Every time.
You got to get through all that before you can get
It's a
to the other stuff.
mutual
Yeah. Yeah.
love, no jealousy, just a
Yeah.
mutual, yeah.
It almost sounds like there isn't the experience again of each other's identity and self-expression feeling like a threat. It's not if this friend is both different from me in these ways and also similar to me in these ways, that doesn't feel like it's a uh it doesn't feel like it's a threat to my own self-expression. I can still be me. I can still be uniquely me, and I can still be the me that is very similar to the person in front of me. And both of those things feel exciting and comforting, which, yeah, that's so special. Constance, you were, of course, part of the cultural phenomenon that was Entourage, which at its core is about friendship. What did that experience teach you about the importance of having your own entourage in real life? And has your understanding of having an entourage evolved since?
Yeah, I was very much an outsider to the friendship of Entourage because it was, the bro squad. And I was the woman, that watched it as like completely judgmental. So, I don't know that I have ever rolled with an entourage per se. I definitely have always felt quality over quantity, like in general. It's interesting because I would always rather have the one person to be honed in on and dedicated to than to spread it out amongst six people at once. Like when I have a birthday party, it's overwhelming. I love it so much. Like, that is when I bring, like, the entourage party, and it's, like, everybody I love, but it's only those moments, and then what happens is I get so overwhelmed because I want to give every single person that's there a special moment in time for them, and that is when I realize, like, no, I need these people, like, one-on-one, 2 at a time is maybe okay, I think I can handle that, but, yeah, so I'm actually not as much that as the bros were on the show.
Well, I think that is the key takeaway, right? Which is that there is, again, no one right way to do friendship, that there are situations or people where it feels really good to surround yourself with the group and everyone that you love and have this kind of buzz in the air and this creative energy flowing. And yet, there's also moments where having that one on one quality time and deep conversation and connect moment where that is the thing that actually fuels us. And so again, it just brings me back to this idea of intentionality, of questioning the scripts that we have of what social success looks like, of what a friendship has to look like, of what we need to be surrounding ourselves with to feel connected, and instead just asking ourselves what feels good, what works for me, and is this a situation where I want that?
That's also the kind of friend that Constance is, though. She's so giving that it's overwhelming when all of her friends are around because she wants to do so much for all of them. I always say that if you wanna know what kind of person Constance is, she has a gift shop in her basement, literally. It's like, I don't know if there's a Barbara Streisand mall down there or what, but I came to her house one day and I was like, "Shit, I have to go to a baby shower and I don't have anything," and she goes, "I'll be right back." She came back with a stuffed bear, a card, tissue paper, bows, and a bag, and a wrapped gift, and I was like, "What the fuck is down those stairs? What?" And that's the kind of person she
Yeah.
is, that's how she treats her friends, that's how important they are, so when she's in a room with 20 of her friends and she has people that love her in every corner of the globe, she feels overwhelmed because she wants all of those people to get a piece of her and have the experience of her friendship, which is so important, and I'm trying to talk her out of that because all those people are fucking energy vampires, and she needs to keep it to herself, except me.
I love this. I guess one thing I was curious about. So, Heidi, your presence on Instagram is striking in terms of obviously the style that we're talking about, but also how that blends with storytelling and storytelling that is vulnerable, that is raw, that is unfiltered, everything that we've spoken about. And Constance, you've devoted your professional life to playing other people and to embodying this kind of unfilteredness. And I'm wondering about the whole idea of communicating vulnerability. And do you find that there's a parallel in any way between how you show up in your work and how you show up with each other in your friendship? In terms of what is the difference between vulnerability and self disclosure and what that looks like online or on screen and what that looks like for the two of you?
Mm. I mean, I'm the sa I am me. This is me. On Instagram, off Instagram, there's no difference between who I am in those places. And so um, I walk through life as a vulnerable person because I don't know any other way to be. So like I said earlier, if you're accepting of that, then we're friends.
There's this piece of there are some things that are sacred and special and that we share with our friends. And then there also has to be that piece of this is the real me. This is what I'm putting out there. And I want that to be felt. And just like our friends can tell when we aren't being our authentic selves, right? Other people can pick up on that insincerity as well. And so I think that's why, certainly in seeing a lot of what you've been putting out there, why people are picking that up because they resonate with that type of authenticity
Yeah, I mean,
and
they
that,
see, 30 seconds and Constance sees all
yeah.
that the seconds,
Yeah.
hours, and minutes, which are very, more layered than what you're getting. I might say something super confident about something and then literally 5 minutes later be like, God, why am I fat? And Constance will remind me to go watch my own video and shut up.
I was like, have you seen this person on social media? Her name is Heidi Clements.
You should check her out. Yeah.
She's really dropping some truth. Like,
That's
you
great.
should listen to her.
Friendship is so much about community and you've really created a chosen one through Talk 50 to me. What has surprised you most about the community that you've built and where can listeners go to join you on this journey and join the conversation?
Well, they can follow our Instagram at Talk 50 to me. But I think, look, it's everything I had hoped it would be. It's a safe, supportive space for women to talk about the changes that happen when you get to this age. And, Heidi and I have 10 years in between us, but it's still the same age. Like, it's still the same bracket of how things shift. And I have really found that with every single woman that comes on, whether she just turned 50, whether she might not even be 50 or she's headed towards 70, like it feels so good to just have 30 minutes of time with like-minded women.
Yeah.
You just go deep really, really quickly. And that has been, I think, so wonderful to be like a part of making that happen and giving that space.
I love that. To end things off, I want to take a hard left turn and not go deep and do our snap pea speed round. 5 quick questions you can answer in 1 word or less. Who's most likely to say I'm 5 minutes away when they have not left yet? Which one of you?
Neither one
Me.
of us.
Okay.
That's a
No,
lie.
me. I think me. Heidi's always early. Heidi's
Okay.
always early.
What's your go-to we need to talk location?
The phone?
Okay.
The FaceTime?
Every moment
Speaking
in our lives is we need to talk.
yeah.
So,
Speaking of 50, you have $50. It's girls' night. You have time together. How are you spending that?
Constance is gonna drag me to the early bird disco.
That's right. Dancing. Dancing,
Excellent.
dancing, dancing.
Love that. Who's the planner? Who just shows up?
I'm probably the planner,
Yeah,
right?
sure. Yes, I get
Yeah.
to be a passenger
The
princess in the
producer
life
and
of
passenger.
Constance
Absolutely.
Zimmer, yeah.
And if you could relive one night or experience together, what would it be?
I don't know, they're all I mean, I think we have an experience we haven't had yet, which is, like a long travel trip with just us, like to Europe or somewhere, like, we haven't had, like, a girls' trip that doesn't involve work. I think
If
it's to come.
If that isn't the best answer, I love that. The best is yet to come. Amazing.
Yeah.
On your podcast, Talk 50 to Me, you ask women to describe their 50s in one word, and no two answers are ever the same. Here on Two Peas on a Pod, we like to play a similar game, Words with Friends. So I'd love for you to describe your friendship in one word on the count of 50. No, just kidding. On the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Easy.
Satisfying.
Easy and satisfying.
We're
I
gonna
love
put that
that.
on a t-shirt too.
Easy and satisfying.
That was
Amazing.
my nickname
Again,
in high
there's
school.
a
so,
this is excellent. Constance, Heidi, thank you for an amazing conversation. Thank you for the window into your friendship and for sharing the stories and experiences that just encourage us all to bring a little bit more intentionality to our friendships at every stage of life. And if people want to connect with each of you, where can they go to check out your work?
I'm at Welcome to Heidi and at Talk 50 to Me.
And I'm at Constance Zimmer and at Talking 50 to Me and a bazillion other
And
handles
Midlife
that,
Collective.
that
And
we don't need. I have too many. I have like 5 Instagram accounts. So,
And follow them all. We're working your way to 50. I love it. Excellent. Okay, well, thank you so much for this incredible conversation and for your time. So deeply
thank
appreciated.
you.
Okay, so not only did that conversation give us a very strong contender for our first two-piece merch, I definitely need that I'm too old, too tired, and too fucking cool printed on a t-shirt. It also gave us some incredibly refreshing friendship takeaways. So Heidi and Constance have one of those rare love at first sight friendship stories, the kind where you meet someone and you immediately think, oh, yes, you are going to be in my life. And I loved hearing the way that they talked about that experience and about really seeing each other. Thinking back, Constance said something that has stayed with me. She said, what made some other people step back from Heidi actually made me step forward. And I think that that touches on something that is so important about friendship. And frankly, something that we should be spending a lot more time thinking about because we spend so much time worrying about whether other people will like us or accept us or choose us. But sometimes the much more important question is, how can I work to actually be the most authentic version of myself? We've talked about this before, how part of what separates friendship from our other relationships is this element of choice. Again, we choose who our friends are, we choose who we let into our lives, we choose who we let stay. And it is that aspect of choice that makes friendships so uniquely important and so powerful and profound when it comes to the impact that they have on our sense of identity, on our sense of self-worth, on how affirming they can be. And one of the things that we can do is we can twist ourselves into believing that we need to put forth a certain image of ourselves, or frankly, we can twist ourselves into all these different versions of ourselves in an attempt to feel chosen or to be chosen by other people. And the challenge is that that doesn't work. It doesn't work because people can pick up on inauthenticity. And it doesn't work because even in those situations where you are then chosen, you don't experience that profound sense of, wow, this person sees the real me. They get the real version of me and they are choosing me. And so this is part of what I loved about today's conversation was this idea that we don't need to twist ourselves into all of these versions of ourselves that society has often made us feel like we need to be. We can and get to be the truest version of ourselves. And that is obviously a process that is easier said than done and easier for some of us than others, and hopefully gets easier as we age. But when we can do that, and when we can feel chosen in those moments, well, those are the friendships that can be so very powerful. It also connects to this other idea that we spoke about in our conversation today, and that is really the timelines that we put on friendships. And this is something that I hear time and time again in the work that I do, where so many of us believe that we're supposed to have our friendships figured out by a certain age, that we should know how to make friends, that we should know how to keep friends, and that at a certain point in life, our closest friends should have declared themselves. And that ideally, our closest friendships are people that we've known forever. And that if we haven't found our people yet, that somehow we've missed the boat. We've missed the window, even, that we can't necessarily build those close relationships later on in life, or that they are somehow inherently less special and meaningful than those lifelong friendships. And Heidi and Constance's connection, this is such a great reminder that longevity and closeness are not the same thing. That sure, you might have people in your lives who you've known since kindergarten, even or high school, and they know your history and they're a part of your history. But someone you meet at 40 or 45 or 50, not only can that be equally special and meaningful and close of a connection, it can actually be uniquely special and meaningful. Because ideally, as we age, we get a better sense of who we are. And we're growing into new versions of ourselves. And when we meet someone at an age where we feel settled in ourselves, in our identity, in our bodies, that person gets to experience the most real and comfortable version of us. And they might actually know us and have access to us in a different way. And again, those relationships are not only possible, they can be incredibly powerful. I want to be careful here because our conversation today was absolutely empowering and encouraging and optimistic in a lot of ways. And I also know that for people tuning in, this isn't necessarily some of the friendship experiences that you have had, where friendship hasn't felt effortless and instantaneous. It hasn't always felt easy. And losing touch with a friend, friendship loss can hurt. Feeling left out, feeling left behind. There are very real seasons in life where we experience that kind of disconnection or loneliness or longing, and where we can feel like everyone already has their people. And so I want to just take a moment to acknowledge that we don't always experience this sense of ease and effortlessness. But the conversation today really pinpoints this idea that it is never too late. It is never too late to meet someone new. It is never too late to deepen a friendship. It's never too late to find a person who makes you think, almost, where have you been all of my life? And ultimately, you don't have to be that for everyone, and you certainly won't experience that with everyone. The goal isn't to make yourself universally appealing or to build a friendship with everyone that you will meet or even connect with. It's to do the work to know yourself well enough and to be yourself honestly enough that the right people have a chance to actually recognize you, to meet you, and to continue meeting you. And so this actually brings me to your next connection step. One of the things that can feel really daunting is the experience of walking into a room where you are meeting new people, perhaps, or where you have a specific goal in mind. You're there to network, you're there to build new friendships, you're there to learn a new skill, you're there to just gather amongst friends, old and new. And one of the things that can be really challenging is to walk into a space and to feel that sense of comfort and ease. So often we get in our heads about how we are being perceived and whether people are actually open to getting to know us or open to friendship and connection. And so your next connection step is this. I want you to imagine what it would be like to step into this space knowing that you are welcome, knowing that there are people there who are eager to get to know you more deeply, and that you are in good, safe company. So the next time that you walk into a room where you don't know everyone, or you find yourself hanging back, maybe, you're sticking in a little corner, or you find the one familiar face and you feel like you're glued to them for the entirety of that evening, I want you to try something different. So before you walk in and throughout the evening, tell yourself this: I belong here, and people here are open to getting to know me. And I don't have to prove that I deserve to be here. And connection can be abundant. And then act accordingly, because you will be so surprised at the impact that these kinds of alternative, supportive beliefs can make, almost mantras, that these mantras can make on our behavior. We know, we've talked about this before, we know that our thoughts are connected not only to our feelings, but to our actions. And so when you walk into a space and you assume that people will like you, that people want to get to know you, you tend to make a little bit more eye contact. You take up a little bit more space. You sit with the group instead of hovering over at the edge. You let yourself assume that people are glad you are there and people will respond in kind. Again, you don't have to convince yourself that everyone will like you or that everyone is a friend in waiting. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop making rejection the default experience before you've even given connection a chance. And it's not always a rejection of you or of ourselves that we anticipate. It can be a rejection of someone being open to friendship. Sure, this person might like me, but they're not open to making new friends. And when you can push back against some of those beliefs and walk into a space assuming that people are open to getting to know you, open to having a meaningful conversation with you, open to building a potential friendship with you, you will notice what changes, not necessarily in the room at first, but in you, in how you feel and how you show up. And yeah, you know what? In turn, what happens in the room? Because sometimes the first step toward finding your people is recognizing that you don't have to wait to be invited into a sense of belonging and connection. Sometimes you get to create it, at first within yourself and then with others. And that, my friends, is our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining me on Two Peas on a Pod. I will be right back here with you next week for another episode. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Let's stay connected. So follow the show wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify. Leave us a review or a comment. Come say hello on social at the Two Peas on a Pod and at Miriam Kermeyer. And be sure, as always, to share this episode with a friend. Or you know what? Share it with the person that you think is just so fucking cool. Until our next catch up, take care of yourself and the people in your pod, and I will see you back here next week. Two Peas on a Pod is hosted by Dr. Miriam Kermeyer. Executive produced by Zoe Travis, Matthew Hoffman, Katya Kaminsky, and Dr. Miriam Kermeyer. Produced and edited by Podcast Nation. Producers Madison Britt and Alicia Paneer. Audio engineer Miles Carter. Original music by Sarah Walk. Created by Zoe Travis and Matthew Hoffman. Two Peas on a Pod is recorded in Montreal and Los Angeles. Today's program contains information that is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This program is not a substitute for psychological or medical advice. Please seek out your own support and research as needed. Take care, friends.